place that's been involved in our conversation so far. Let's go back to the 1,300-page document that Rick was mentioning and that Ron mentioned. That's got to be you got this wind challenge that you're just talking about, and then trying to figure out how this carbon issue is going to fit in. It's got to be real difficult.
It's a real big challenge. As I said earlier, the program, NPPD, gets about 60% of its energy is produced from coal-fired power plants, which obviously emit carbon. So it is a big issue for us since we do rely so much on coal. The House of Representatives has passed this bill by the various narrows of margins that it passed, and now goes to the Senate. We're still concerned about many of the provisions in the House bill and the impact it could have on our customers here with the cost of carbon, if you will, in whatever form that takes. So we've been actively engaged with our congressional delegation from Nebraska, and all three of the congressmen from here voted against this energy bill in the House. We're also very actively engaged, along with Rick and his organizations and other customers in the state, with our two U.S. senators, Senator Nelson and Senator Johanns. So we've been very active as an industry in the state, talking to our congressional delegation, trying to make sure that they understand what the potential impacts could be of various types of proposals on electric rates and our consumers and customers here. And we will be continuing that very aggressively to try and help shape whatever energy bill might come out so that it's reasonable. I don't think we're opposed to climate change legislation, but it has to be reasonable. There's got to be a balance there with cost, environmental improvements, and all of those things, maintaining reliability. We can't forget our responsibilities in that area as well. So that's what we've really been advocating, is balance. Technology needs to come along to deal with carbon capture and storage. There really is no commercial technology for that today. That's another issue that we are concerned that we have, is there maybe being a little bit aggressive. We need to let technology advance before we get too aggressive in this area.
Yeah, from you know, the national viewpoint, it's a fairness issue. You know, we think about the Midwest. We're into heavy coal and all the way over to Indiana, Ohio. You know, this whole center part of the state or United States. When you take a look at the East Coast and West Coast, you're talking about hydro. You're talking about nuclear power. You know, a lot of natural gas, and their electric rates are higher, but their emissions are lower, and especially on a per capita basis. So, you know, in some respects, you're talking about a fairness issue from the both coasts to the middle.
Population issue.
Yeah. You know, Ron's right. You know, we've kind of been engaged. You know, I think there's a way to. I think there's a way to attack this climate change problem or issue, but let's do it in a reasonable way. Let's let you know. I read about this every day. There's a new company that, you know, might have a new process to take the carbon out of the coal. Well, let's let that kind of catch up and
it's you know where I come from.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like I wish we would have did this back in the 80s when we first started talking about it. We would be further ahead, but that's not the case. So now we deal with it now, right?
Now, one more comment. You know, Ron says that NPPD about 60% comes from coal. Well, on the flip side, that means 40% is emission free.